council. It beggars belief that your council is contemplating directing him to do so in such circumstances. I understand that this direction will be made on the basis that he, the chief executive, must sign the statement because he is being ordered to do so by his employer. In what other world would this not cause an outcry and deep condemnation? This is the wrong thing to do at every level. Despite my prior objections, this wholly unlawful, unethical and despicable recommendation appears set to proceed. So I must set out so it is absolutely clear why this recommendation should never have even been contemplated, let alone be the basis for action. 1. You are asking the Chief Executive to lie. Despite the long history of spin in your tenure as Mayor, you cannot make black into white simply by saying so. The Chief Executive and everyone else know that the statement of compliance requirements cannot be fulfilled, or at best cannot be made without severe and compromising qualifications. This is a statutory function, not some chat with a radio station. For the council to direct the chief executive to in effect sign a lie is to conspire to cause a criminal misrepresentation. No public company board could direct its chief executive in such terms. It follows that for a council to do so is absurd and I believe unlawful within the context of the employment relationship. 2. This is not a formality. To treat the representation as a mere formality is the very reason why you have never understood your financial and legal duties as mayor. This attempt to direct the chief executive to lie is led by you, and while each councillor who votes for the lie to be perpetrated on our ratepayers is also responsible for their decision, as with so many other decisions, ultimately and solely, this decision is primarily your responsibility. No doubt you will claim you were misled by someone. If you intend to rely on that excuse, as you have done with other matters, I urge you to reflect on the plain fact that if you are so constantly misled, clearly you are not capable of discharging your duties as mayor. In normal circumstances, I would suggest that the prudent course is for you to resign, but I know that call would be rejected out of hand and wasted effort on my part. 3. You are misleading the ratepayers. Your council, and you as mayor, with your deputy mayor, hold office with higher duties to the public than the board of a public company. Public companies have shareholders they invest voluntarily. Council has statutory powers which compel ratepayers. It is well established that those that hold public office with such powers have the highest of duties. To use this fiction of the chief executive being directed to lie to enable adoption of the annual report, just from common sense, must taint the annual report at both the legal and ethical levels. Before you quickly comfort yourself that this is nonsense and is within council's power, you might reflect on how wrong your statements have been on the legality of the rates. I could go on with further reasons, but it's too shameful to do so because those reasons only further illustrate the moral and legal bankruptcy that is your mayoralty and decisions of those that have mindlessly followed your lead. Adoption of the long-term plan. The next matter is the adoption of the 2012 to 22 long-term plan. The legal advice provided to the council in relation to the illegalities of this process was provided again in public excluded session. The same old text is listed in the minutes to justify exclusion. Again, saying black is white does not work. The requirements for public exclusion cannot be met. Simply, the public were excluded so you and your council could hide and receive advice which would not stand the test of public examination. In adopting the long-term plan, council is confirming that it believes that the plan is financially prudent, that the plan is premised on, amongst other things, not having to refund $17 million of rates that the council has acknowledged are invalid and that council's legal advice indicates would likely need to be refunded if challenged in court, and rates as struck being paid. The difficulty with this is the status of the long-term plan itself is almost certainly a further illegality, and the implied assumption is that the rate strike will end. The more probable outcome is that the long-term plan will simply be seen for what it is, a further arrogant illegal exercise of power. I cannot see why the rate strike should not intensify under such circumstances. I do not believe for one moment that the adoption of the long-term plan will survive any challenge in the courts. It seems that adopting the long-term plan is simply a preliminary political step to enable the commissioners to claim that the adopted plan is the legitimate expression of the wishes of the ratepayers. No doubt, from there it will be argued it should be validated by retroactive legislation. This is, I believe, the true nature of the reason for the push to adopt. No doubt, as Mayor, you will continue to spin, as you have already done on radio, as the long-term plan being this council's long-term plan. It may be the long-term plan that some members here see as acceptable. However, first, the long-term plan is tainted by illegality. And adopting resolution is simply an expression of contempt for the law and the people of the district. Secondly, the hearing process was flawed, unfair and biased. The long-term plan is, I am certain, not an expression of the ratepayers' view of the future for the district, for it condemns them to financial misery and saddles them with your grandiose district plan. That district plan has and will handicap the district and destroy the one basis that might offer relief in the future, namely vibrant economic growth. Simply, the district needs money to pay the bills. The only future offered by the long-term plan and district plan is the council ever-increasing taxes by way of rates on this already poor district. The tragic aspect of this is that if you and the other councillors simply obey the law and honour the democratic trust placed in you by the ratepayers, you would refuse to adopt the annual report and the long-term plan. The commissioners would then have a clean slate, and no doubt the required retroactive legislation could ensure that the commissioners could govern without an LTP until they could work out a plan and properly consult the district. In any council, there should always be differences of opinion. This has been anathema to you, and you have no understanding, in my view, of your duties as a leader of a democratically based institution. I have stayed on, mostly as a minority of one, because this is my district too, and the people that I see, that I represent, have time and again asked me to hang in. You have destroyed this council, not others who have let you down. You should have taken the steps I implored you to consider last year. Those were documented on my website at the time and will remain as a testament to your unwillingness to listen to any opinion other than your own. Your vision continues in the long-term plan. It is simply more of the past, of muddling, unaffordable grandeur. My vision for the district is a district that can grow economically and remove the obstacles to development by withdrawing the district plan and going back to a plan that people, rather than high-priced armies of consultants, can understand. A council that has done the hard work to zero-based budget all the district expenditure with only essential core activities being supported. A council and district that invest in partnerships to market the district as a place to work and visit. I do not refer to the junket partnerships such as your trip to Japan. The comic absurdity of your statements at the time while closing our eyesight office are illustrated by the total failure of your efforts as district's personal tourism salesperson. A council that spends in the district rather than seeking favour from big city law firms, banks and other consultants that have and continue to pillage the ratepayers' hard-earned money. A district where it does not take a retired lawyer to cause this council to get high-priced advice to tell it that it is acting again and again unlawfully. A council that does not use its silence the local press. A council that is committed councillors that actually care about balancing the books rather than thieving by putting their hands in the ratepayers' pockets. A council that has the courage, when it has ruined the district through its negligence, to do the right thing and truly try to learn from its mistakes rather than trying to institutionalise those mistakes through a fairy tale of a long-term plan. A council where it is unacceptable behaviour for a councillor to blame its own ratepayers for failure in projects such as EcoCare. EcoCare, for the record, was your council's project. EcoCare was not wanted by most in Mangawhai. Now, having been disgracefully mismanaged to the point that this council cannot even account for the money spent, it is shameful that this district's failure is being used to create a them against us campaign in the district. You are the mayor, as you have been so quick to emphasise when exercising the powers and formalities of the office. Those powers of formality, pay, the standing, the grandeur, come at a price. That is not your oft referred to personal price, but the price of service to the people of the district. The price is to run a council that truly exercises its powers and responsibilities to create the simple but required outcomes of a well-run, solvent organisation. If even a few of those submissions I made last year had been acted on, instead of you playing the politics of exclusion and personality attacks, our district would not be the bankrupt, sorry mess that it is. Your legacy is personal financial misery for many, and I, for one, find it unbearable to see your arrogance for one moment more. So with no hope of you acknowledging the illegalities and the misery that you personally are responsible for, I have now reached the point that even if our constituents think I should stay, it is time for me to go. I will not be party to such unlawful, shameful, disgraceful actions in these dying days of our council. I resign effective immediately.
3 cheers.
Do you feel proud of yourself? Do you feel proud of yourself?
Julia, get up and resign. The rest of it.
Come on, Maria, take it. Do the right thing. Come on, Sullivan, you're next. Hurry up.
This has a resignation. Steve too, you too.
That's the caretaker hint.
And the resident number 1 love.
How much stuff
That's a
do you
fee.
need?
We have a call for late items.
I caught her off